A while back, we had a great discussion. We spoke about Big Ben and his chances into the Hall of Fame. And look, we see John wearing his little Steel City shirt right now, repping them. Let's talk about another quarterback that was drafted in his draft class, Eli Manning, quarterback of the New York Giants. Is he a Hall of Famer? Or the question that we asked about Big Ben was, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
So he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Can we all agree on that? I'd say yes.
Yeah, I mean,
So is he a Hall of is let's talk about it.
surely Eli
Oh,
Manning is a Hall of Famer. What's
I'm
that
with
face for?
go ahead. No, continue. I want to hear your points. I'm listening.
Brandon and Justin, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. You've been Patriot fans your entire lives almost, as long as you've watched sports, right?
correct.
Yep.
So I'm sure you guys are well acquainted with
Oh
the
yeah.
2008 Super Bowl loss, heartbreaking. David defeats Goliath. Now, sure, Eli's defense that year was insane. I mean, to be sure. But then guess what he did again? He, in 2011, beat Tom Brady a second time. And the thing is, in those games, it's unique. The Giants made the Super Bowl in 2000. They lost to Baltimore. Kerry Collins was their quarterback. Wasn't enough. Pretty poor in that Super Bowl run. Eli Manning was the guy from New York that took them over the top. He was what enabled them to beat a Tom Brady-led team. They had the receivers. They had the running game. They had an insane defense. But without Eli Manning, they don't win those two Super Bowls. In fact, he is the Giants' best quarterback in their franchise history. He brought stability for that team for over 15 years. Brandon, you're a big availability guy. I don't actually believe in the saying the best ability is availability. The best ability is actually being able to produce. You believe in that though yourself, right? The best ability is availability. Well, Eli Manning started 210 games straight. Literally, I think it was. Let me check. What, 14 straight years? He missed a total
Third,
of one
third,
game.
third all time for most consecutive starts by NFL quarterback. 210.
Wait, that's third all time. It's not first.
Yep, third all time.
Wait, who's first and second?
To be honest, I didn't write it down. I forgot.
I'll be honest. I may be wrong live in the air, but I thought that was
It's
number one all time.
it's.
That's
All right,
14 years.
while you go, I'll look it up. Keep going though. I'll
Yeah.
look it up.
So he's also ninth all time passing yards, ahead of John Elway, Aaron Rodgers by 4K. But when it comes to Mr. Dependable specifically, one of the toughest guys in the NFL, the quarterback of the New York Football Giants that won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Only 4 other guys have done that. Brady has done it 5 times. Yes, it's Tom friggin' Brady. Montana's done it 3 times, and then Bradshaw and Bart Starr won it twice. And Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong. You think Kurt Warner's a Hall of Famer too, right?
Yeah.
And the guy that eventually helped Eli become a starter. When you compare longevity, I think longevity matters in this discussion. A guy like Kurt Warner only played in the NFL as a true high-end starter for 6 years. That's all we got, 6, 7 years. Eli, he was consistently that same guy from New York for 14, 15. And you look at what he was able to produce. 4 of the greatest plays in Giants history. The throw to Tyree in the Super Bowl. The throw to Manningham. Manning to Manningham. You got the throw to OBJ. And of course, the game-winning dagger. Send your impossible to defeat New England Patriots home in Super Bowl 42. He's produced the greatest plays. And when you look for a franchise quarterback, that is what Eli Manning was for well over a decade. That is why Eli Manning, to me, is a clear-cut Hall of Fame player.
You know what drives me crazy? So I'm with you. Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, but I have family members that are Jets fans. Okay, big time Jets fans, and I've heard tons of Eli Manning hate. And my question to fans of teams that haven't won Super Bowls or have struggled to find their quarterback,
Mhm.
if you don't think Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, you're crazy. Because would you have taken him on those Cleveland Brown teams that didn't win a game? Would the Jets take Eli Manning any one of those years when they were missing the playoffs? Yes, of course. Why? Because you couldn't find the damn quarterback. Eli Manning was there. Eli Manning was present. His record is not indicative of his performance at all. He was a gamer, and whenever he had his offense, I'd say I like to get the years right. I always say I think it's '06 to about 2011 and 2012. when he had a solid core out there that was healthy,
Never
Eli
had that.
performed. Yeah, and he never had that consistently. But from that time period, he had a solid team. And I felt like through that time, Eli showed, yo, if he's healthy, if other people are healthy on the outside, this man's gonna ball, and nobody's gonna stop him. Sure, he made his interception mistakes, and he's up there with some of the worst interceptions I've seen in my life. But as a Patriot fan that has been crushed by this guy, literally, I remember the 2011 Super Bowl crying in my family's home because of this guy. Eli's made the throws when he needed to in the biggest moments. He's one of the greatest postseason quarterbacks that we have ever seen, ever seen. And I don't think that's gassed up. I think we just got to give credit where credit's due.
No hyperbole.
So I just look at it and I look at his draft class. I look at Ben. I say Ben's a Hall of Famer. Eli has the two greatest Super Bowls possibly of all time. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't really think it's fair to even debate it. If he doesn't get in the Hall of Fame, it'd be a disgrace.
You ready right there, dude?
You
Making
done?
mad the entire time.
I'm done. I'm ready for this because I know you don't think anybody is the Hall of Famer. So
Okay, I just don't want the damn Hall of Fame to get watered down. And listen, man. Okay, you guys made your point. Yeah, two-time Super Bowl champion, two-time Super Bowl MVP, four-time Pro Bowler. Out
Right?
of 16 years in the NFL, he only made the Pro Bowl 4 times. That's a little conspicuous. And I will give you, John. He is the best quarterback ever played for the New York Giants. I mean, that's not saying a lot, but I'll give it to you. Okay, so if we just look at, because again, I think you guys aren't looking at the whole picture when it comes to these players, and because we got to look at their entire career. We got to look at it objectively. We got to look at what they did. So like what awards they won, accomplishments. We got to look at their statistics because statistics are a record of history. That is what happened on the field. Yes, it doesn't tell the whole story. I understand that, John, but they are records of events that happened. These are the numbers you put up. Okay. And you got to look at what they did winning wise, especially with quarterbacks as we're talking NFL. So the awards I gave you, that's where it ends. Okay. Stats wise, a 60% completion percentage for his career average, not good.
Brady's only 64%.
But that's a lot when you consider it. 60% is not that good. 64%.
Greatest of all time, only 3%, 3.9% higher for the GOAT.
Yeah, but okay, so you're just looking at the completion percentage, but you really want to get, John, do you really want to get into that debate?
No.
Don't do that. Don't mention Eli Manning and Tom Brady in the same sentence. Oh
wait, hold up. In those games, Eli actually played at the level of Tom Brady. Let's not get caught up in those games versus New England.
Do we really want to get into those?
The three he played in his career: 2 interceptions against New England, 8 touchdowns, 260, 70 passing yards. Quarterback rating of 97. Can I like that? I think that's pretty good. If I say so myself.
So we really want to get into what happened in those Super Bowls because I know Justin watched them.
Okay,
what happened in those
but
Super Bowls?
I want to say one thing to you. I have all the respect in the world for Tom Brady. He's the greatest of all time. But saying that they don't belong in the same sentence when Eli has beat us twice in a Super Bowl is very
Justin, who really beat us in that Super Bowl? What happened? Do we forget? Are we forgetting?
Yeah, a couple miracles. You're right.
No, not the miracles. I'm talking about what really won the Giants that game.
The pass rush.
08 or 2011?
Both years. All they had to do was rush 4 to get pressure on Tom Brady.
Less so in 2011. 2008, it was a monster.
That's not true at all. Dude, they still had Justin Tuck. They had JPP. They had who was having a career year that year. They had OCU Manura still, Chris Canty in the middle, and a young Linval Joseph in 2011. That's a stout.
Michael Strahan in 2008 specifically.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, and then in 2007, 2008, they had Fred Robbins, Michael Strahan, OCU Manura, and Justin Tuck. Like when you only need 4 to get to the quarterback, that leaves the other let me do my math real quick. Terrible at math. 7 other players. to do what they need to do and not worry about it. You don't have to blitz. You know how much easier it makes on the back end when they don't have to blitz and they can get into the set in their coverage. Like, come on, stop forgetting what really happened in that Super Bowl, okay? Eli Manning threw an interception to Asante Samuel in 2008 that should have ended the game. And then he makes a miracle play where there was go back and look at it. There was a holding on that rollout play that he had, okay?
Brandon, stop. If we're going to do this with Tom Brady, remember in 2018, Patrick Mahomes' first year where D Ford went off sides, an interception that would have sent the Patriots home and would have sent the Chiefs to the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs and the Patriots would not have won the Super Bowl that year. Because if you want to do that, we can do that for other parts of Tom Brady's career as well, my friends.
I got you though. I'm not making that argument. I was just saying that.
I'm just saying that as well. If we're going to do that, if we're going to hold every quarterback to that standard, we can do it with all of them.
No. Because if you're telling me, the greatest quarterback of all time, one of the smartest quarterbacks to ever play the game, didn't know that D Ford lined up offsides and didn't know that was a free play. You're telling me he didn't know that?
I believe D Ford jumped offsides.
But you don't think Tom Brady knew that when it happened? You don't think
he jumped offsides? He wasn't lined up offsides.
I understand that, but you don't think he knew that happened?
I think D Ford just preemptively jumped off sides.
I'm not asking you that question, John. I'm asking you, do you think Tom Brady knew that happened while the play was going on?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I think maybe he could have, but I'm not.
Then we're gonna move on. Then we're gonna move on.
You're talking about Eli. Let's go.
Then we're gonna move on. Then we're gonna move on because that's
talking about Eli Manning here. It's not about Brady. I know that he is, the one that's pwned Brady a few times in the biggest moments, but
he didn't. Again, we just talked about it. That defensive line did.
He played at that same level. He stepped up and played to Brady's level with that. The greatest player of all time we're talking about here. By looking at me,
but the D line was what? How do you?
But he produced. We're talking about numbers. Numbers are what you did. You were talking about that before. He put up the same numbers as Brady, and I believe in those two Super Bowls had one less turnover.
Okay, but again, we're talking about how do you make a quarterback not play to the standard that they're known as? What's the easiest way?
You throw a great opposing team at them.
No, you get pressure, you rough them up, and you hit them. Quarterbacks don't like to be put on their butt. Okay, they don't like to be touched up. They don't like to be roughed up.
You're talking about Brady's quick release though the other day, weren't you?
He does have the greatest quick release, but you can't. But when the D line is coming at you that fast, we can sit back and watch the game at what happened. The receivers also got to get open, and guess what? Teams started to figure them out. You can look back at 2009 of what happened when because 2008 he got injured in the first game. In 2009 when they really came back, and then team started to break up. I forget what clip it's from, but Belichick is talking. He's like, listen, teams have figured this out. Take Randy Moss away from deep, cover Welker on the under. What are we going to do? Bill Belichick literally said that in the meeting. What we got nothing else. That's it. Teams. So I think Tom Coughlin had a great game plan. Steve Spagnuolo called a great game defensively. I don't think we give enough credit to that defensive line. Yes, Eli Manning was there, but I think if we replace them with some other quarterbacks, they'd get the job done. But again, I want to get back to the Eli Manning points. All right. Yes, he's 9th all-time in passing yards, 10th all-time in touchdowns. He's also 12th all-time in interceptions. He's got a 84.1 passer rating, which is 54th all-time, behind guys like Joe Flacco, Cam Newton, Jay Cutler, and Sam Bradford, to name a few. Led the league in interceptions 3 different times. Now I want to get into the meat of my point, because everybody falls in love with the 2 Super Bowl runs, right? What else did he do for those 14 other years he was in the NFL? 117 all-time win-loss record. He's 500. 17 out of the 16 years had a winning record. 9 out of the 16 years had a 500 or lower record. Do we really want to miss the playoffs 10 out of the 16 years?
Do you really want to talk about the team around him?
Hold on.
That's what I'm waiting for you to acknowledge that. Like, if we can get into the roster that was around him for some of those years. I mean, look at his last season with the Giants.
Well, he had Saquon Barkley, Justin.
Career. I can't. I mean, this is his entire career. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at his entire career of what he did. Let me ask you this, guys. Then, I know it's long ago, but in that Super Bowl 2011, did the New England Patriots deserve to be in that Super Bowl with the team around them? The answer is no. No, they didn't.
In 2011?
Yeah, because that's the year Julian Edelman was playing defensive back. That's how badly injured and bad our
Really?
defensive backfield was.
Oh, I don't know that.
No,
Okay,
I was gonna say I think that might be one of the years that the Patriots were a shoo-in because
no,
if
no, we
Gronk was healthy that season, they
yes,
win the
we
Super
win
Bowl.
that. We win that,
For
and I
sure.
agree.
That
We
was
win
Gronk's
the
rookie year,
but
right?
that goes to the. But guess what? That goes to the credit of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick to be able to lead that team to the Super Bowl, and that's why they're both the greatest of all time. So you're talking about me. Look at the team around Eli Manning. He had Tom Coughlin, who I think you guys would probably agree is a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
You had solid players around you. I mean, I named you the D line he had surrounding him. That D line didn't change that much. He had Michael Strahan retired after they won the first Super Bowl, but guess what? They replaced him with JPP. I mean, I don't understand where you guys are. I mean, dude, what did he do? He missed the playoffs 10 out of his 16 years.
Let's talk about it then. Let's talk about it.
That's one of the biggest reasons why I say, and I agree with people that say winning isn't entirely a QB stat anymore. I'm back then, sure, it's same thing with pitchers. In baseball, back in the day, wins used to mean so much. A pitcher could win 21 games with a 4 ERA or higher, and they'd be praised because they have wins. No, it's because of who's around you. Eli didn't have everything around his defense, and for a long time, he was looking for a running game. He didn't have it.
He had a solid running back through those years with Ahmad Bradshaw and
How about the years of
Okay,
Brandon Jennings?
after that.
Whoa,
After that.
Brandon Jennings every year? Because there are some years.
Brandon Jacobs. Brandon Jacobs.
Okay, my fault. Because there's years of Brandon Jennings, and they were shooing for 3.3 yards per carry, not even, maybe 3.1.
No, I was talking about back in the
Listen, I'm with you. Ahmad Bradshaw was the man, bro.
Yeah,
I love Ahmad Bradshaw.
bro. Homeboy had Plaxico Burris on the
For
outside
2 years. 2 years he had Plaxico. 1 year Steve Smith.
Guess what? A year or two after that, he had Hakeem Nicks and Victor Cruz.
2 years of them individually. They had their primes as legit star receivers for 2 or 3 years. That was it. And it was over by 2012. Then it took him a few years to get OBJ. Only had 3 years of OBJ.
Okay, so
he never had number 2 consistently.
Can he not elevate talent?
Well, 2015, he threw for 4,400 yards. And guess what? The offense was top 6, top 10, but the defense was 30th in the league. So they missed the playoffs year. Went 6 and 10 because the defense was hot and garbage.
Elevate his receivers.
He elevated Victor Cruz. Who saw that one coming?
How about the years where Shane Vereen was like third on the team in yards?
Shane Vereen was made in New England, buddy. Don't do that.
How about in New York? Well, in New York, he was able to maintain that with Eli Manning.
Yeah, but he was already proven.
Well, not every, like you say, you've got these certain stigmas, Alabama quarterbacks, New England coaches, and how about New England players? The Rex Burkheads, they go to different teams. All of a sudden, they're not the same player they were in New England. But Shane Vereen,
Shane Vereen was Shane Vereen. Dude, a receiving running back can be translated into almost any offense because he can just catch the ball and go.
So. Depends. Yeah, Hall of Fame quarterback like Eli, you can maintain that.
No, not a Hall of Fame. I mean, you guys still haven't accounted for his last. All right, so you want to talk about those playoff teams that he did make the playoffs, the 6 years he made the playoffs.
Yeah, what was his record in those 6 years, by the way?
What, in the playoffs?
Yeah, what was his record those years?
I don't have those.
8-4. His record was 8-4. Okay, so
that's terrible.
So 8-4 is terrible in the playoffs?
8-4 is not that good.
That's not that good. Are you serious? That's a sip. I know math you're saying before, it's not exactly your forte. But
all right, so when he made the playoffs six out of the 16 years, what?
So 8 divided by 12 because 12 total playoff games. I believe that's 75% as a winning percentage. I think in the postseason, I see that had Aaron Rodgers, Michael Vick, and Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, Tony Romo, Donovan McNabb. That's pretty good winning percentage.
Okay, but what I'm saying is made the playoffs 6 out of his 16 years. Out of those 6 appearances, 4 of them they lost in the first game. 3 of them within the first round. The other game they got a bye week. So he was getting bounced 4 out of those 6. So in those two other but besides the two Super Bowl runs, which account for those 8 wins, he's done absolutely nothing. And you guys I would love it if I could walk into a job, have 2 great years out of 16 years, and be called a freaking Hall of Famer. That would be incredible.
But like we mentioned before, we have to account for the things around him. in that time. It's the truth, bro. You want to talk about everything after the year that they beat us in '08? You're telling me that Giant team was in prime to win again until Plaxico went down? When
They made the
Plaxico went down,
playoffs.
2 years. 2 years of
They
him in
made
New
the
York.
playoffs. They made the playoffs,
okay,
Pla-
I
and
get
they had
that.
a bye week. And they got a bye week, and they lost to the Eagles 23-11.
Like
And
I
you
said,
want to know his stats in that game? You want to know his stats? A 51% completion percentage, 169 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
You're hyping up Plaxico Burress. He only had 2 strong seasons in New York over 700 yards.
They
That
didn't
guy's
hype
same
him
as
up.
Steve Smith.
I said he was a really solid receiver.
But
I
he didn't
wasn't-
have him for
was a very
all of
solid
those guys. He didn't have for long. Like you look at the Antonio Browns, or more specifically for Guy Brady, he had the consistency with those same receivers. With Eli, he didn't have that. Hakeem
No, he
Nicks,
didn't. Tom Brady? What are you talking about?
Julian Edelman, he had for years,
we had
6, 7
Welker for
years.
years. We had Moss for. I mean, that wasn't a long.
Moss was 3
We've had-
years.
That's what I said. We
Gronk
haven't
was
had
in and
Moss
out
for-
of
That's
the
longer
lineup.
than Plaxico Burress and Steve Smith.
I understand that, but like, you still can't tell me why he didn't elevate other talent.
I told you before, in 2015, he threw for over 4,400 yards, and the defense was hot garbage. They went 6-10. Outside OBJ, that team's second best receiver is Ruben Randall. It wasn't Julian
What
Edelman.
happened in the playoffs when they got there?
The following season?
No, when it
Yeah, the following
It was
season,
the
2016.
playoffs.
The following
that was
season,
the playoff team.
2015 is where they
that
went
was the
6
boat
and 10.
trip, right? That was the boat
Yeah,
trip.
Yes.
2015 was where he had the great year. 2016, another great year. That
And they
year,
got blew up by Green Bay.
yeah, they couldn't run the ball that year. Brandon Jennings.
Okay. Tom Brady barely had a running game. These other great quarterbacks barely had a running game.
You're talking before about the running games. That was a limiting factor. The defense was better that year. But they couldn't run the football.
I don't know.
The offensive line.
You guys still guys haven't accounted for. They had a pretty solid offensive line.
So you just think that he's not a Hall of Famer at all?
No.
At all? Okay.
Why?
He hasn't had
done-
the consistency with these playmakers.
He had 2 great years, 2 great runs, and that's it out of 16 years.
All right. Can I read y'all something?
All right, that doesn't make you a
Can I
Hall
read
of
y'all
Fame.
something? Because numbers do matter. Am I right, Brandon?
Yeah,
Numbers do matter.
to a
Okay.
degree, not the entire story. I don't want you guys
Just
to take that.
let me know if these numbers at least matter. Okay, I'm gonna quote this. I got this from Fansided. Okay, I love this site with fans right, man. It's passion. I love it. Only 7 QBs in NFL history have thrown for more yards. Those quarterbacks include Hall of Famers Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Dan Marino. 3 of the other 4 QBs are Hall of Fame locks: Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and yes, Ben Roethlisberger. I believe also Philip Rivers is ahead of him on that list, who will eventually be in the Hall of Fame too. Manning threw nearly 6,000 more yards and 66 more touchdowns than John Elway in the same amount of seasons. The New York Giants legend threw for more passing yards than 29 QBs that are currently in the Hall of Fame.
Is that it?
Last
so the first stat,
he
the
threw
first
for
He's not
more
done. He's not
passing
done.
touchdowns.
Oh.
He threw for more passing touchdowns than 30 QBs that are already in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, so the first stat you gave me is how many yards he had all time, and I gave you that. He's 9th all time. Okay, he was pretty good for a long time. He does have the most consecutive starts by an NFL quarterback, with 3rd all time for that. And I did look it up. He is 3rd all time. And then the second thing. What was the second stat you said?
It was more yards than John Elway and
John Elway. Okay, that was a different league for John Elway. It wasn't a passing league; it was a running league. So again, the numbers are inflated a little bit for Eli Manning. You don't think Eli Manning is going to be passed up when these new wave quarterbacks come in?
But Justin, I got 2 questions. Neither Justin or I are under the impression he was a top 10 quarterback at his peak, because he wasn't. I don't think he was. There were so many. There was many. Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson. I mean, heck, you can even throw some years the likes of Joe Flacco or Hasselbeck in the same tier. We understand that. But I got 2 questions for you. The first is, what do you value in a franchise quarterback? What is a franchise quarterback? The intangible traits that you covet. A guy that can lead your football team. In a market like New York.
I want a guy that's on the field.
Availability.
I was going to say a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over, but that's not really Eli Manning.
That's not him. His case. So here's some of the things I value: availability, longevity. You can do it for a long time. Remember the Super Bowl with Kerry Collins I talked about before? Threw 4 interceptions against that Baltimore team. That Giant team made the Super Bowl, Tiki Barber and those boys. And guess what? Quarterback that year was not nowhere near up to the level of Conant. And speaking of Conant, when it comes to toughness, leadership, and the clutch gene, you value the clutch gene. Am I wrong, Bren? And just like you value the availability. You like those two things. They're important to quarterback, right? You do, because Eli had those things. He also had the work ethic. He had the integrity. He didn't cheat, right? He had to cheat for those 2 Super Bowls. There's that as well, my friend. Why are you looking at me funny?
Don't do that. Don't.
He didn't have to cheat for those Super Bowls, my friend. He didn't have to.
Yeah.
He had
I
loyalty.
didn't like
Unlike
that.
Brady, he
We
only
didn't
played
either.
for
We didn't cheat for
one team. Oh, okay. I'm not saying anything, but I listen to certain podcasts or modes. They'll say certain stuff.
We listen to certain
That's just
podcasts.
one team. I'm
Haters
just saying.
hate winners. Haters hate winners. Just know that.
Cameras. I'm not even talking about the deflated footballs. I'm talking about cameras and sketchy stuff and playbooks being, fished out of the garbage. I'm just saying.